immense action at the NASSCOM Game Developers Forum, and now we're here with Rajesh Rao, who is the chair of the NASSCOM Game Developers Forum, and he's also the CEO of Dhruva Interactive. Rajesh, it's great to have you here. You're a veteran in this young industry, really. Lots of participation, lots of energy and excitement. What is it this year that has been the highlight for you over the last 2 days?
I think it's a great satisfaction that we have at the NASSCOM Gaming Forum is that we've managed to harness the groundswell of energy that we are seeing in the games industry in India. I think over the last 2 years we've seen over 100 startups getting into games and wanting to make the next Angry Birds and to be the next big success. And a lot of them are very young, very enthusiastic, but not necessarily have all the skill and the experience that they perhaps ought to have to be really successful. And our goal at the forum is to become the platform that can facilitate sharing of knowledge, experience, sharing of failures, so that the mistakes that have already been made are not repeated. May a new 100 mistakes be made, but there's no point in doing the same mistake that somebody else has already done. So we wanted to promote that, and I think over the years this platform has really blossomed. This year has been fantastic. We've had, I think we have touched 1,300 people in participation this year, and we've had a very big focus on the indies because that's really the whole explosion is because of the indies and trying to help them in different ways.
That's exactly what I was coming to actually. Where do you see the Indian indie scene going? All these independent developers, and I've been speaking to people who've come from Jaipur, from Delhi, and of course studios
from all over the
Mumbai,
place.
from all over the place.
Nassik, they are from everywhere. It's pretty amazing to see, from the most unexpected of places, and you're hearing of, and it's some of these places are actually very indie friendly. Somebody from Nassik says to me that, oh, I've got a team of 10 and I can sustain myself with $6,000 a month. Now that's you couldn't do that in a Bangalore or a Mumbai, right?
Yeah.
So in some ways it seems to be working to their advantage that they're in smaller towns. Of course, the disadvantage that some of these guys have in smaller towns is the access to talent is not as good as it is in some of the larger places where there's a much more vibrant ecosystem. But it's just a reflection of aspiration and energy and excitement. And I think the indie scene will play out in a way in which it is played out in many places. You will have some successes, you will have many failures, and you'll have a lot of failures who will respawn and perhaps become successful, and you'll have within that indie community, you will have people grouping, regrouping, and finding better fits from the time when they did it for the first time. So we'll see a lot of that happening.
Now, you at Dhruva, of course, you've been providing and partnering, with developers across platforms, across different genres. Where do you see this whole movement going? Do you see more of the Indian developers perhaps gearing towards mobile because of the ease perhaps with which one can now publish on iOS or Android? Or do you see Indian developers becoming perhaps more active with the console gaming? Where do you see the next 12 to 18 months?
They will go where the market is, and the market is clearly the mobile. And it's also the platform that makes the most sense. As an indie, you cannot aspire to do a console game today. I mean, you could do a digitally distributable console game on the new platforms like the Xbox One and the PS4 because they have a special kind of a publishing program that they have come up with, both the companies, namely Microsoft and Sony. But nothing as easy as publishing on the mobile and having your game available through the app stores or the Google store. And that's really the big growth area really. And we will see most of the indies functioning in that space. And that's where the market is. I mean, if you look at India, it is going to be a predominantly smartphone market. I mean, we are heading towards an install base of 300 million smartphones, and they are not going to be just talking to each other, right, with those phones. They are going to have Facebook, they are going to chat, they are going to WhatsApp, and they will play games. And it's amazing. You meet aunties and grandmas, and you hear them talk about
playing games nowadays,
and you hear them talk about Candy Crush Saga and Temple Run. And you're saying, whoa, I would never have expected this auntie or this grandma to say that, but they do, because hey, they are getting gifts, you know, when their birthdays come up, their grandchildren or their, you know, or their children are giving them these as gifts, as a way to keep themselves busy. And what do? They play games, and or they are you know, browsing Facebook and doing likes and comments. So I think that whole social experience is you know, gone virtual in a fairly seamless way. And I think Indians, we are very high on the social quotient, and that social quotient has moved to the virtual in a very seamless way, and it is now enabling the furthering of the social quotient, because
it spreads like wildfire, of course, yeah.
And with mobile gaming going social, there is now that whole aspect of tapping into your social circles. Someone clears level 30 of a game, and everybody else is seeing that, and they're saying, oh, so that is where we see the scope for the whole free to play but pay for the premium items model, because it will reach a point where people will be compelled enough to say, oh, let me buy that power up, it will allow me to blast through these few levels, and I can also boast with my friends and family that I was able to clear this. And with the strength in numbers, all you need is, you know, just a few people to cross that tipping point as a percentage, and that number is actually going to be large. So if 0.5% of all the players in India, you know, let's say there is 300 million smartphone, and a good percentage or a decent percentage start playing games, and even if 0.5 or 1% of those start paying, that is a large number.
That's a huge number.
Yeah.
So let me quickly ask you this final thoughts, and I know you're working on a project at Dhruva. We are looking at perhaps mentoring a lot of independent developers right here in India. What is this project all about, and
so
what can they look forward to?
It's less of a project, it's more of a thing to do.
Okay.
We've been, you know, we've been around for a while. We've made more than our fair share of mistakes, and when I see this community the way it's growing now, and you just feel that there's, you know, you could help them succeed, you know, because you've already made a lot of the mistakes that they're about to make, and many of them also lack the mentoring and the experience. And we have a lot of very experienced people in my company. I mean, we hire, you know, we've hired over the years people from all around the world. My team is a very international team. We have seasoned game designers and art directors and programmers and so on, all of whom can, you know, spending time with any of these guys would really help some of these young startups. So that was where the thought of doing an incubator came to us, especially when Dhruva, we moved out of our old facility, which was in a very beautiful neighborhood in Bangalore called Indiranagar. And we were there for nearly 10 plus years, and then we moved on to a bigger location, and that office fell empty. And I said, hey, this seems like a cool place to do this incubator, because we have space for perhaps about 7 to 8 startups. And we have a beautiful cafeteria there in the roof, and you know, we've hosted the king of Sweden in that roof. You know, we've had very famous people who've come there and you know, hang out with us to check out what we're doing. And I said, this would be a great place, you know, to open it up and make it into an incubator. Infrastructure is not as good as it should be in many places, and especially things like good quality internet and uninterrupted power supply, basic things. So thought that you could have people come, plug and play in a place which provides all this. Instantly also it creates, you know, a peer group, an atmosphere
to exchange ideas,
which can kind of charge each other in a way. And then if you have a good pool of mentors who come, swing by, spend time with these you know, with these young companies, potentially we can make them up their game, you know, go from good to great. And if some of them succeed, we will feel happy, because you know, today when we look at where we are and we say, how many years would we think would be ideal for someone to achieve another Dhruva today? And the answer is probably 6 years, which means that we could shave 10 years off, because that's the amount of experience.
Kind of
but that's the thought, you know, to ensure that these guys can succeed in a lot less time and in a, you know, far faster than, you know.
Well, you said it, the punchline, up the game, I guess.
Up the game.
Up the game, that's the mantra. All right, thank you so much for talking to us. Thank you.